This session is titled How to Master the Art of Problem Solving. Being successful does not mean you don't have problems. It means that you know how to solve problems. And today, right here, we'll learn the 7 steps involved in problem solving and how you can use them in your career as a successful manager. I'd like to ask you a question. Just for fun, let's just cover a couple of questions. Think hard, focus on what I'm saying, and see if you can come up with the answer to this question. This is a problem, and your task is to solve it. Here's the problem. A man builds a house with 4 sides. It is rectangular, and each side has a southern exposure. A big bear wanders by. The question for you: what color is the bear? What color is the bear? What color is the bear?
White.
White! Yes! The bear is white. What color is your bear?
White.
White, yes, white. You figured he's smart, he knows what's going on. Why not pick him up? Yes, white is right. Do you know why it's white?
I would guess if it has 4 southern exposures, the house is sitting on the North Pole.
Excellent. You're geniuses. That's exactly right. If a house has 4 southern exposures, it must be on the top of the world, and the only bear that lives on the top of the world is a polar bear or white. You did so well. I'd like to give you another little test. If a doctor gave you 3 pills and told you to take one every half hour, this one I want you to write down on the piece of paper in front of you. How long would they last? A doctor gave you 3 pills and told you to take one every half hour. How long would they last? Okay. I'm cheating. Okay, very good. What is your answer?
Half an hour.
1/2 hour? Why?
Because the doctor said they last take one every half an hour.
So how would they last half an hour then?
Because the doctor said to take one every half an hour, so that must be the duration of when they last.
Oh, isn't that interesting? She took the question to mean that the lasting effect of the pill is for half an hour, so they would last, therefore, in terms of their medication, for half an hour. She gave me a solution, did she not, to a problem which I gave her. Is the solution what I'm looking for? No. That's why problem solving is very interesting. All right, what would you say? I know it's white, I know. Yes, it's white. What would you say?
1 hour.
1 hour. How many of you put down an hour and a half? Raise your hand. An hour and a half. Yes. Now, the reason you thought it's an hour and a half is because the way you solved the problem did not really focus on everything I said. And when we don't pick up the data properly, sometimes the solution would not come out right. And you said how much?
1 hour.
1 hour. Would you please tell all of us, why did it take 1 hour?
Well, you're assuming you're going to take the first pill when the doctor gets through talking to you.
So let's say that's at 9 o'clock.
Okay. Then a half an hour later, you take the second pill.
And that would be 9:30.
Okay. And then in the next 30 minutes, you take the third pill.
And that would be
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock. So one at 9 o'clock, one at 9:30, and one at 10 o'clock. How long would they last, those 3 pills?
Anyhow.
1 hour. Very good. 1 hour. That's the correct answer to that question. You see, sometimes our mind uses experiences and knowledge that we've had in the past to solve the problems that we have in front of us today. And sometimes that just doesn't work. Problems have life cycles that can be divided into 3 stages. The first stage is called the emergent stage. The emergent stage is where the problem has no immediate threat. It would be equivalent to your car having a low level of oil in it. You can still drive the car for a while, and once you put more oil in your car, the problem would be solved. It's not of immediate threat. It's an emergent stage in problem solving. The second stage is called the mature stage. That is where the problem is more than a minor nuisance. Some damage has already been done. That would be like you driving your car with a worn bearing. If you don't change the bearing, your car will break down. Some damage has been done, and you need to pay close attention to fixing the bearing in your car. And then the third stage is called the crisis stage. That's when the problem is now life-threatening to the organization. And if this problem is not fixed, the organization could cease to function effectively or cease to function altogether. That would be equivalent to you driving your car on a very busy highway with no oil or very little oil, with the heat temperature very, very high, and smoke coming out of your engine. It is crisis time, and you are going to break down and cannot use that car anymore. The emergent stage, the mature stage, and the crisis stage. Obviously, the easiest and the best stage, which should be taken care of in terms of problem solving, is at the emergent level. At the emergent level, you can solve the problem and move on. The resources demanded will not have to be heavy and great. Once the problem gets to the mature level, it becomes more complicated. And at the crisis level, who knows if it could even be solved to any satisfactory position. Let us now discuss the 7 steps that you and I as managers must follow if you and I are going to solve problems in our organization, in our departments, even for us personally. These are 7 proven steps. When followed accurately and well, you are capable of solving your problems efficiently and with a great deal of satisfaction. Here's the first one. Identify the problem. The question becomes, how do you identify a problem? You determine what things are like when everything is going well. What do things look like when everything is A-okay, when everything is wonderful? Determine what things are like when everything is going well. And then decide how much variation from the norm is tolerable. You decide how much variation can you tolerate without it becoming uncomfortable. If then there is more variation than you can tolerate, what do you have? A problem. That's how you identify if you have a problem or not. At the crisis stage, it's easy to identify a problem. At the emergent stage, it may not be as easy unless you have policies and procedures in place. Unless you define what is that variation and what do things look like. If I had my way, how would things look? And then how much variation from that picture can I tolerate without my organization suffering? So identify the problem. Secondly, analyze the problem. In other words, determine what makes the situation a problem. Why is it a problem? What exactly has taken place? Where has it taken place? How? When? Who's involved? Analyze what that problem is. And then thirdly, describe the problem. I've written many books over the years, and I can tell you that every time I write a book, the first thing I do before I write the first word of that book is take a piece of paper and a pencil, and in one sentence, in 12 words or less, I write what that book is all about. If I cannot define clearly and accurately what that book is going to be about, that book could be very, very confusing to the reader. Focus on what it is. Identify it, analyze it, and then in one statement describe what the problem really is. If you can't do that, there is no point trying to follow up with solutions because you haven't yet described what the exact problem is. Here's the fourth step in problem solving. Look for root causes. What are those things with individuals or groups of individuals, with departments or with machines that cause this problem? Many managers tend to solve problems at the symptomatic stage. They look for the symptoms and solve the symptoms. What happens when you do that? The problem occurs and reoccurs all over again. What we must do is find out the exact cause of the problem. And when you know the cause of the problem, you can then somehow solve the very thing that caused the problem in the first place. For example, if I were to have a cold today, if I were sick, if I could determine exactly how and when I caught this cold, what caused this cold, then what would happen? I would know the root cause. If, for example, I determined that I took a bath and then I went out in the rain and that gave me a cold, then I would know next time when I take a bath, I should not go out in the rain. Therefore, solving the root cause of the problem. Number 5, develop alternative solutions. What might be the solutions to this problem? Think of as many solutions as you can, pass no judgments on them, and be creative. And be creative. Let me see if I can give you one other problem. And let's see if collectively in this management seminar today we can solve this problem. Now you have to think, and you have to think very creatively. Imagine that you have 5 little chains. They look something like this. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, that's 4 and 5. These are little chains with little links in the chains, 5 little chains, and they're divided up, as you can see, in these 5 sections. Your job it is to take these 5 little chains and put them together in one straight line so that what you have is one long, continuous, interlooped chain. Now, when I say one long, continuous chain, I don't mean you weld them together like this. Every link in every chain has to have movement in it, so that it's just a complete chain in a straight line. Do we understand the question? So far, it's easy, right? You could do that. What if I were to say that it would take 2 points to break one of these links? That will take 2 points. And it would take 1 point to weld that back together. So to break it like this with an opening would cost you 2 points, and then to close it back up again will cost you 1 more point. The person who's going to give me the best answer is the one manager here today who's going to give me the least number of points that it would cost to put all of these chains together in one continuous straight line. Think about it, and when you have an answer, let me know, because I want to hear what you have to say. Be creative. The most obvious solution is not always the best solution. It appears easy for us to solve problems, But problems demand creativity if they're going to be solved in a way that has a lasting effect. How many points would it cost you to solve this by putting it all in one continuous chain?
Can I use additional screw links?
What does that mean?
A different type of link to assemble them with.
You can only use...
Otherwise, 9 points. I can do this in 9 points.
You can do it in 9 points. Anybody? How many points? If you have the answer, just let me have it. How many points would it take to put them all together in one continuous chain?
9 points.
Okay? Judy?
8.
8 points. Okay. Anybody with 12? 12? You have 12? Yeah? So when you have 12, what you did is you unhooked this, connected it, hooked it up again, unhooked, connected, and that comes to 12 points. Actually, the right answer is 9. 8, it's impossible to do a continuous chain with 8. 9 is the right one, and what you do is this. You take this chain here, you break this one, that's 2 points. You break this one, that's 2 points. You break this one, that's 2 points. That's a total of 6 points. Then you take these 4 and you put them in a straight line. Right? And then, so now we've used this one, this one, this one, and this one. And we have 3 small ones here. We take this one here, put it right there, and link it up again. We take this one, put it right there, and link it up again. And take this one, put it here, and link it up again. That's 1 point, 1 point, 1 point. So 6 plus 3 equals 9. Takes some creativity to come up with that answer, and you did very, very well. Just to think, if we gave you the kind of chains with the screws that you wanted, how many points would that have taken?
None.
Would have taken none.
Yes.
Isn't that an interesting answer? That creativity goes beyond what appears to be the case. In other words, I was limiting his solution by giving him these facts. And he went beyond the limitations and said, but if I can have these resources, I can give you an answer bigger and better than the answer you anticipated. Creativity in problem solving is a must. It's a condition to success. That was point 5. Here's point 6. The 6th step to problem solving is to implement the decision. Now, you can implement the decision. Go ahead, select an alternative solution that works well, and implement it. And I want to share with you a little secret. The manager who implements decisions properly, effectively, and consistently is the man or woman who always thinks in advance. What might go wrong as I implement this decision? And if that were to happen, how would I react? What would I do? I always say to managers, think of 2 or 3 things that might go wrong, and then have strategies to somehow overcome them. If you don't do that, then something might go wrong. It's a surprise to you. You did not anticipate it, and the result will never be as effective as you had hoped for. And then the 7th step, measure results. Measure results. Now that we have solved this whole situation, was it the right decision? Did I pick the right alternative? How do I know? I measure the results. Are the results in keeping with the philosophy and the mission and the vision of this company? Did the results bring for me and my department and my organization what I wanted? Because if they didn't, then we have to go back and correct and make amendments so that we do have more reasonable solution to these problems. The most effective problem solving involves the use of your creative right mind, your right mind, to imagine solutions and then to use the logical left brain so that you can evaluate them. You see, my friends, Good ideas emerge from great brainstorming. Walt Disney, who began Disney World and is known the world over for his creativity and ingenuity, used to bring a group of his people together, place them in a room, take a board and say, give me your ideas. Just throw them at me. And then take every idea and put it up on the board and stick it on that board. Brainstorming means when you ask your people to solve a problem, you ask them for solutions, but you pass no judgment on the solutions. You say, what ideas do you have that would work in solving this problem? Give them to me. You don't say that's good, that's bad. You just say, let's put all the ideas on the board and decide later what happens. I like the story about the father who comes home one day and finds that his two daughters were fighting over who is going to get the bigger piece of the pie. Apparently in the refrigerator there was some pie left, a piece of a cake. And the older daughter said, Daddy, I deserve the bigger piece of the pie because I am the older daughter and seniority reigns. And the younger daughter said, oh no, Dad, when Mom left for work, she said that I should do certain chores. I did every one of them. And so as a reward, I ought to get the bigger piece of the pie. Now there was the father, two daughters, loves them both equally. And he's thinking, how do I solve this problem? So he said, girls, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to go to the kitchen. I am going to get a sharp knife. I am going to take this cake, this pie, and I'm going to divide it in two equal halves. And I'm going to give you one, and I'm going to give you one. And the older daughter said, no, Daddy, that's no good. I told you I'm the older girl. I deserve the bigger piece of the pie. And the younger daughter said, no, Daddy, that's no good. I deserve the bigger piece because I did my work. Perplexed as to how he could solve this problem in a way that both would be happy. Isn't that the magic of problem solving? Win, win, agreements, not just solutions. Bring us together as a team, so when we move forward with commitment. He said, girls, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to flip a coin. And the older girl or the younger girl who wins, who determines how the coin is going to land correctly, that girl gets to pick her piece of the pie first. And the other one who doesn't win this little flip of the coin gets to cut the pie. When he flipped the coin, and when they cut the pie, how do you think the pie was cut? Right down the middle, in two exactly equal halves. Because to have done anything differently than that would have meant one of them would have lost. And they, in their own way, in their own time, solved that problem. For the manager, the father, who had not been able to solve the problem to the satisfaction of everyone. There's a lesson in that. The lesson is problem solving in our businesses today can happen when we involve people, when we ask for their opinions, when we brainstorm for their suggestions. And then when they solve that problem, it is their solution. They are committed to it. They believe in it. And they're much more likely to follow through and make things happen. Oh, the manager who knows how to solve problems is the one moving towards greater performance and consequently will help his or her company towards greater profitability. Yes, being successful doesn't mean you don't have problems. It means that you know how to solve problems. When you apply the 7 steps that we presented in this session together, you'll be able to solve problems quickly, effectively, and consistently. And when you do so, you feel good about it, your team feels good about it, and your company benefits in great ways.